Okay, so is this what Idahoans voted for? Nearly 67% of us, more than 605,000, voted for President Donald Trump to have a second term. So I guess it seems so. But between the funding and health care cuts or even the immigration issue, what about the Republic part of this government, the representative part? Has it been representative of all Idahoans? A lack of town halls or opportunities to ask direct questions of Idaho's congressional delegation, it may seem like getting those answers can be difficult. But what if we went straight to them? Well, that's where we find Joe Parris this evening in D.C. to try to get their take on some of these issues. Joe?
Hi, Brian. Yes, good evening from Washington, D.C. We actually just got here. We just threw up the camera, so apologies for the appearance. But yeah, here we are right outside the United States Capitol. As Brian highlighted, we are going to be here all week speaking with each member of our congressional delegation. We also picked a great time to be here. Alex Adams, the former director of health and welfare, he is up for a spot in the Trump administration working on foster care, something that he helped revolutionize in the state of Idaho. We will be at his hearing tomorrow morning as he takes tough questions from the leaders here in Congress as he tries to earn a spot within the Trump administration. We also know there are some major players in town this week, like the director of the Idaho National Lab. We know that there's a lot of conversations going on in Idaho about nuclear power, renewed interest in American energy and self-sustainability. So we're going to work this week to figure out exactly what INL is doing on Capitol Hill. And we're also going to be working with our congressional delegation. We have 2 senators, 2 members of the House of Representatives. We're set up this week to ask them some of the most up-to-the-minute questions as we are here in D.C. Things happen very quickly. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask, feel free to text them into the 208-321-5614. You can use the hashtag the 208 so we can keep an eye out for those. Brian, I know that there's a lot of questions that we are hoping to get to this week. I know that especially the story you just touched on a few minutes ago with the rescission package passing a few days ago, we know that there's been a lot of criticism from Idaho's, I guess, home base in terms of, well, we understand the rescission package, but what about NPR? So we'll be getting into that. Also, still a lot of the big, beautiful bill, so-called, now the big, beautiful law signed in on July 4th. Brian, I think there's a lot of Idahoans that are finding out about provisions within the new bill that's now law, including gambling. There's one thing that I think Idahoans can keep an eye on there. And Brian, we will be here all week. So again, send us your questions. We look forward to getting some answers direct from the source here in D.C.
Okay, so Joe, quick question before we let you go. How inside are you expecting to get this week with our delegation, or just inside the Beltway?
Oh, we're expecting to be, every step of the way for the most part. For example, we know that Senator Jim Risch, for example, he's on the Foreign Relations Committee, so he has some very highly classified meetings that for American safety reasons we aren't allowed to go into. But aside from that, we're going to be really step by step, you could say hand in hand with the congressional delegation here this week in D.C.
All right, we look forward to it. And again, you have a question that you want Joe to ask of our delegation, 208-321-5614. Send them our way. Thanks, Joe.